So an annoying thing in Looker Studio is that when you create a table and if you do a date comparison, it'll show you changes for columns. You can either do a percent change or an absolute change, but those change columns aren't sortable. And that's kind of a problem if what you're looking for is what changed the most, which a lot of times we are. So the example I've got here is looking at Google Search Console query data. And you'll notice that I can actually take this delta column, which is the change in impressions to the previous date range, and I can click on that and I can actually sort by that column. So I'm going to show you how to do that with some fancy blend and formula work. All right, so I'm going to start back with a blank dashboard. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a Google Search Console data source. I'm using Google Search Console as an example. Actually, we've already got it added here, so I'll just show you how this is set up. I'm using Search Console as an example, but you can really do this with any data source that has a date column. So you can see I'm connecting to the site impression Search Console data source and the search type web. So if you have access to Search Console, you can follow along with that. Okay, we're going to say done, close. All right, now I'm going to just start by inserting a table. And I'm going to do query, and I'm going to do clicks and impressions. Now, what I'm going to do is click this blend data. And a data blend in Looker Studio is when you take two different data sources and you combine them together. So when we click this blend data, you'll see my Search Console data source. And what I'm going to do is something a little weird. I'm going to add another table, and I'm actually going to use that same Search Console table. So I'm going to call this GSC last 30 days, and I'm going to call this GSC previous 30 days. Okay, now I'm going to configure the join. So this is how we're going to connect the two data sets. And I'm going to do a left outer join, and it's on query, so that's actually fine the way it is. Now I'm going to add metrics to the right side, impressions and clicks. Doesn't really matter what order they're in. Now I'm going to do something a little interesting. I'm going to take the date range and I'm going to change it from auto to custom. And this is how I found to get this to work. So what I'm going to do is go to advanced, and I'm going to say today minus 1 day and today minus 60 days for the 60 I want for the start date. So we're looking at the last 60 days. I'm going to do the same thing to the right side of the blend. So I'm going to go to advanced, and today minus 1 and today minus 60. I'm going to apply that. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a filter to the left side of the blend, and I'm going to create a filter. I'm just going to call this GSC last 30 days, and I'm going to pick date, and I'm going to say is on or after. This is a new feature of filters in Looker, a relatively new feature of filters in Looker Studio, where I can add this kind of conditional logic to dates. So 30 days, so is on or after 30 days ago, and I'm going to save that. Then on the right side of the blend, I'm going to create a filter, and I'm going to call this GSC previous 30 days, And I'm going to say date. And then what I'm going to do is say is on or after 60 days ago. And date is before 30 days ago. Then I'm going to put in a name. So I'll just say GSE date comparison. And I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to add my comparison columns. So what we're going to do, I'll make this a little bigger, and we're going to bring in, so you'll see just because this is where I started, the left side of the blend, now it's got clicks, and then it says GSC last 30 days, impressions last 30 days. Down here, you'll see it. Now I'm just from the two different data sources. I'm going to pick clicks from previous 30 days and impressions from the previous 30 days. I'm going to rename these just so they're a little clearer. And previous impressions. Just ignore that heat mapping there. For now, I guess we'll take that off. Okay, now we're going to add our columns as calculated fields. I'm going to move these around a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to add a metric. This is how we do our comparison. Down here, when I click to add a metric, you'll see that I can add a calculated field. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to call this the clicks delta. And this is going to be clicks from the last 30 days minus clicks from the previous 30 days. I gotta see those, need those parentheses, and then I'm going to do this over clicks from the previous 30 days. So last 30 days minus previous 30 days divided by the previous 30 days. I'm going to change the type of this to %, and I'm going to change the display format to no decimal points. All right, so I'm going to add that. Then I'm going to do the same thing with impressions. So I'm going to click add a metric, go down to the bottom, calculated field, and I'll call this impressions delta, open parenthesis, impressions the last 30 days minus impressions previous 30 days divided by impressions previous 30 days. I'm going to change this to %, decimals to 0, apply that. Okay. Now, bear with me for a second. I'm just going to do a little bit of reformatting and layout changing. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a heat map to these. And so column 6, the last column there, I'm going to, oh, looks like it already is a heat map. Well, hard to see. It's not super obvious. And metric 3, we're going to change that to a heat map. Okay, now you can see that some of these are popping out a little bit, and you can see why, right? This one went from 1 to 5. All right, let's have a look at this in view mode. So now what happens if I sort? So, pretty interesting. One thing that I notice, I don't necessarily care if impressions fall below a certain threshold, and I don't really like these nulls, so let's do something about those. All right, I'm going to click here. I'm going to go to Style, and I'm going to, so where it says missing data, instead of showing null, I'm going to change that to 0. I just think that looks a little bit better. And that'll do it for the whole table. And then what I want to do is actually show cases where impressions are above a certain number. And you'll find that when you're working with a blend, trying to add filters down here doesn't work very well. Most of the time you're going to find that you need to add them to the blend itself. So I'm going to add a filter here. And I'm going to say GSC more than, we'll say 99 impressions. And we're going to say impressions greater than 99. Save that, Close. So there you go. We've now got a sortable delta column, so we can look for those ones that jump out. You can change your filters. But this is just, I think it's a great way, like when you're working with organic search data, for example, to see which keywords have changed the most. You could do it with pages. You could do it with keywords in Google Ads, really all kinds of things. So that's it. Thanks a ton for watching. If you liked this, if you found it helpful, please click the like button, subscribe if you like to see more videos, and check out 2octobers.com. We help people with Looker Studio, marketing, analytics in general, GA4, really anything to do with analytics. So thanks again for watching.